So, hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the G-Spot. I'm Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist. And some of you may not know that I'm also an advanced handwriting analyst. And I have with me today a very special person. This is the magical and wonderful Michael Pappas. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Gila. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. So, I wanted to make a video on this because handwriting analysis or graphology is just another way to get unconscious information, right? I like to think of handwriting analysis as another body language. It's another form of body language. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to explore a sample that Michael has given us, and I'm going to give him some information on what I see just in the handwriting. And then, Michael, you can confirm or negate it, okay? You can tell me if I'm full of complete bullshit or if, you know what, I think you're right, sister, okay?
Okay.
I do want to preface by saying that handwriting is never right or wrong, good or bad. It's just information. And we're always looking for confirming and negating traits. So if I see something that is, it's a strong sense of confidence and self-esteem, ambition and drive, I'm going to look to see, is that situational or is it more like a defense against the opposite? They're really not secure. So I'm looking to confirm and negate. All right. So whenever I bring things up, we're always going to err on the side of positive. But that being said, there are a couple of things I can see in your handwriting that some graphotherapeutics might help you to kind of step into a place that you might want to be more comfortably. All right.
That makes sense. Everything
Okay.
is on the scale of positive and negative, right? So,
That's right. That's right.
yep.
So, Michael, take a moment to just introduce yourself and tell us about what you do, because that might give some context to what I'm going to share today.
Sure. My name is Michael Pappas. I am the spiritual ambassador. That is the name of my business. I'm a psychic hypnotist. I live and work near Salem, Massachusetts, which is Witch City, America, essentially. For those of you who know, it's a very magical spiritual place, sort of a mecca that people of all different walks of spirituality come to experience and do different types of energy work. So I read tarot, I do past life regression. I'm a Reiki master, do all sorts of things within that world, quantum healing and whatnot. And so that's kind of like the gist of what I do. I read auras at the shop that I work at in Salem and help people unlock their blocks and figure out ways through that sort of trauma to absorb their shadow self, to be their best self, to really help them, live their life the best way they can. And then also on the side, I'm a professional organizer. So I do help people in the physical sense with their
I
home.
love this.
It's like with like decluttering, moving, purging, finding homes for everything. As you can see, I'm kind of a maximalist myself, so I know that everything has to find the right home. That's kind of what organization is at its basis, right? Is that
Yeah.
everything has a home, everything has a place
Beautiful.
to go, and there aren't things just willy-nilly thrown around. Everything is purposeful. And so that's at least what it is for me. And so in those two ways, I help people better their lives.
I love it. I love it. That's something we share. I used to be a professional organizer for many years.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So not
Amazing.
only are we both Capricorns, but we're both hypnotists and we're both organizers.
Yeah, maybe that's why we get along so well.
I think so. And it's really just a way of organizing people's unconscious behaviors, things they want to shift and change.
A
Okay.
hundred percent. 100%.
All right. So up on the screen now, you should be able to see Michael's sample of handwriting. And what I see first and foremost is when we look at the writing overall, the number one thing that I'm looking for is the form. The form is going to tell me how fluidly this person flows through life or not. So I'm looking for just the way that the letters connect or don't connect. As again, it's never right or wrong, good or bad. What I see in your form, Michael, is you have like a mixed connectivity. So sometimes your letters are connecting, like right here at the C and the T. Can you see my little mouse moving or
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. And other times they're very separate, like up here at willy-nilly. So
Mhm.
if we look through your sample, there is a consistent trait of you having connected and disconnected letters. Now, what this means is that you're a quick thinker. You don't necessarily need all the details before you can take action. You just need enough of the details, and then you're ready to go. You're somebody who's going, if someone tries to be overly verbose, give you too much information, you're going to be just like, enough.
Yep, that's
I've got
100%.
beautiful. So when we look at the form two, And, I love that you gave me a 2-page sample, because as we go down and look, we can see that on the second page, did you write the second page on a different day, or it looks like it's about the same day? Yeah.
I grabbed another piece of paper. It was right in the
Okay.
same.
Okay, great. So I'm not sure if in the transfer of you scanning it and sending it over to me, something changed, but we can see how the pressure
The pressure
sort
does
of.
look different there. Here, it does not look much different, as
Okay,
I have.
good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's good information, because when things transfer via digital, it's like was whatever happened. So that being said, look at how the form is changing just a little bit as you go down. We can see that up here in the upper zone, you see how the form is, it's very fluid and it's very round. It's what we would call garland and arcade. You have both the wavy underlines. If we look at the B and the D, you see how it's nice and round,
Mhm.
the A. And then we also have these over letters like the end that is very round. So in the form, I'm looking to see, is it garland? Garland is friendly, it's warm. It's like, hey, I'm here, let's play. And the arcade is more of a protection. It's more of a like, I'll let you in, but only so far. So you have this interesting dichotomy of, yeah, I'm going to come to play with you, but if I'm done, I'm done.
Okay.
Am I great? Okay.
Pretty.
When we think of the writer's the page is the writer's world, right? It's a metaphorical map of our world, and this upper third is what's going on intellectually in our head, what we're thinking, the more spiritual or aspirational aspects of life. The middle part of the page is how we're getting through the day to day. It's just what we give our energy to in the physical world of just what we have to do with chores, responsibility, work, relationships, obligations. And then the bottom portion is more what's going on below the surface of conscious awareness, the more emotional self. So if we look at your 2-page sample, the other thing that stands out to me is the baseline. So the baseline is how straight the person writes across the page. And there's a reason why I have clients give me samples on unlined paper, because this is going to tell me their emotionality. How level-headed are they? Are they super emotional? And what I'll get into real briefly before that is that your slant is generally upright, which means you tend to be more of a head-ruled person. Sometimes your slant will go to the left. If we look right here at the T, you see how the slant is slightly to the left?
Mm. Yeah.
And then if we look at other letters like over, where's the other one? We can see that sometimes it slants to the right. We'll find one. Here it is, down here at energy. You see how the slant is a little bit more to the right?
Yeah.
So slant is about introversion and extroversion. And again, this really confirms your own innate trait and behavior of, I'm going to come forward when I want to come forward, and I'm going to retreat if I feel I need to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
The left side of the page is to self, the others is to others. The right side is to others. Left is more to the past, right is more to the future. Left is more to those things that we do for ourselves, and the right side of the page is more towards our ambitions and goals. So that being said, if we look at up here, the baseline is fairly steady, fairly level. And here it kind of dips down a little bit.
Yeah.
But here it's fairly steady. But what I notice is that as we go down further and farther into the sample, we start to see what's called a sinuous baseline. So this means that your emotions are playing much more of a role in what you're thinking and feeling. And this is normal, right? We all do this. But as we get down to the bottom of the page, this is what's really interesting, because you're writing about something you have passion about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I asked you to write about. And this is your class that you're teaching in Hypnothoughts on spiritual hygiene. When we get down to the lower part, we really start to see a shift in the baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at this one right here. Right? It's not bad. What it's telling me is that you are somebody, because at the top of the page, you're keeping it steady. You're somebody who's very practiced at keeping your emotions in check.
That's bad.
It's not that you don't feel them. It's just that you're able to filter them up and keep them in check when you need to, much more than somebody who just comes right out the gate, really sinuous baseline. Okay. Having fun so far?
Yes. And I do remember that I think once I got to the second page, my hand cramped up and I had to take it out. I
That is
think
a
it might
test.
have, yeah,
That is a testament to a couple of things. Number one, you probably don't write a lot. Who
right.
knows?
Correct.
The other thing is you're probably holding the pen very tight. And if you were to turn the page over, can you feel it? Is it bumpy like Braille?
Yes.
So that means you're writing with a lot of pressure, a lot of intensity.
Hmm.
So we can see that, you have a tendency to be an intense person. That's
True.
passion, that's drive, that's ambition. It's all about how is that intensity is it being directed? Is it being intense and like getting in other people's shit and getting in their face and like just being an a-hole? Or is it like, I am feeling passionate about this thing that I'm writing about and I want everyone to know?
Yeah.
Okay. So my favorite thing about this entire sample is the headline up here. You show up in a big way. You don't just open the door, Michael, you blow the frickin' door down. Because size is all about how we show up.
Mhm.
And you take a good portion of this page to let everybody know I am here. And you show up with presence, okay? You show up large, and everyone sees it before you have even written a word on the page.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Kind
this
of me.
capital letter A
Yeah.
is freaking amazing.
I developed
Okay,
that myself. I
beautiful. So
didn't
it's
copy it. I
curated.
just like, yeah.
Oh, it's not curated. You just naturally made it that way.
I made it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't remember when I ever saw it started with when I do the cursive I. I started with that hook and then I did this. You know, my mother makes a W with a similar sort of thing at the beginning, and I always admired that, and so I think it maybe came from that, but
Yeah,
like I don't do a W like she does.
yeah. Well, because these letters mean something a little different.
Mm.
So the idea being, and this is a good question that comes up. People say, well, my signature is something that I've curated. Well, that's right, because our signature, which we're going to get to those, is how we want the world to see us. It's like our name badge. And so we will often curate a persona that we show to the world that might be a little bit different than who we are in our personal, intimate lives. Now, what's so interesting to me about this letter A is when we think of stroke, right? If the left side of the page is to self in the past, the right side of the page is to others in the future, ambitions, things like that, you give a lot of energy into grabbing a hold. That's a lasso. You basically start in the present. You go back to the past to grab all that juicy energy, knowledge, wisdom, experience, traumas, wins, victories. You bring it all into the present and you make it a point. And then you come down into the day to day and it comes back to you. So, as much as I love you, I know that sometimes it's all about Michael. And what's interesting here is that the letter A, I have just written a book. It's a reference guide for therapists and coaches to use of really how to understand our clients better. And I've given every letter an archetype because if we
I
think
love
of
that.
if we think of every letter as a symbol,
Yeah.
right? The unconscious processes through symbol, through metaphor. And so every letter is a symbol of what it means. And it was formulated over time that became our alphabet. And the letter is kind of like the ambassador. It's like it opens the door.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is another reason why you don't just open the door, you blow the door down and you come in.
I love it.
Now, the other thing we see is this big, big capital P.
Hmm.
So we're looking at ratio between how big are the capitals versus the letters in the middle zone because we want to see them about 1.5 to 2 sizes bigger. If
Yep.
they get bigger than that, that is more of an exaggeration. It could be a defense against the opposite. It could be, I'm not really confident, but I want to seem confident. I don't know. We do the full sample to see where this lies. But what's so important for you is that the letter P specifically is about how we show up physically in the world. our
Interesting.
relation to our physical body, and how we express it in the day to day, not sexually, right? This is like, how do I bring my physical body into the world? And you put a lot of thought in it because that big rounded P going into the upper zone is all about thought, intellectualization, ideals, spirituality. So you are bringing all of this energy into how you purposefully show up physically.
Yeah, that's fact.
Isn't that good information?
I put a lot of effort into that,
Yeah.
and
I'm going to
it's
be,
the capital. It's my last name, is P.A. So I'm used to being like, yeah, like, writing that letter.
and those of us who know you is like, yeah, there's Michael. Woohoo. It's like, so what we see also is in this letter M, the M is really about the way that we can use our communication and our energy as like a motivation. And what we see is the first hump for you is round and the second is pointed.
Mhm.
So what this means is that you're going to show up initially pretty warm because rounded is like smoother. Again, back to form, it's more fluid, the form when it's rounded. When it's pointed, it's just more driven, more ambitious, a little bit more sharp. So you can show up really warm, but then you can be a bit pointed in maybe what you say or what you think or what you do. So you have this wonderful duality about you in that way.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. And what's so funny is I have consciously tried to make my M even before, and I just can't. It just always shows up similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, handwriting, I call it pattern recognition. And I have coined the term psychic statistics because these are patterns that show up. People like to shit on graphology and say it's a pseudoscience, and it is. It's not real. But what are all those things that we can't quantify that are still real?
Right.
Love, feelings, attraction, these are things that we can't quantify. It's not, 10 liters of juiciness. It's like, I just freaking want that, and so the handwriting is just basically pattern recognition over time. So what's interesting too is that these are our innate. There's parts of our innate personality that we cannot change because it's how we're hardwired.
Yeah.
It's genetic, it's karmic, it's spiritual. And so this is why if when I made this handwriting manual, I did all the samples. And some of them were so freaking hard for me because they go so counter to my own personality. So we're going to go over that in the course when I teach you the hypnothoughts. All
Yeah.
right. So having fun with that. So we can spend all so much time going over this. We know that you are really emotionally sensitive.
Uh-huh.
You are somebody who is definitely emotionally sensitive. But you feel your intellect, you intellectualize your emotions. Let me start over. We can see in some of the lowercase retracing of the D&T that you do intellectualize your emotions a bit. You feel them deeply, but you process them before you let other people see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So here we see samples of Michael's signature. And what's interesting is I just tell people, look, write as much or as little as you feel inclined to about something you have passion about and put your signature on there somewhere. Michael gave me 4 samples of his signature. So this also just confirms that you have a presence, that you are someone who shows up with presence. So that being said, when we look at the signature, based on what I've already told you, you see how this big capital M
Yeah.
and
I'm
the
now
big
looking at it completely differently. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
so one of the things you mentioned is that you sign different ways for different purposes, correct?
Correct.
And this is true for a lot of people. If somebody has to sign their name a lot, like a doctor or an attorney or somebody out in the field doing, there may be a surveyor or an engineer, they're going to make a signature that's just pretty quick. It's
Yeah.
efficient, right? But here, can you tell me what do you use this first signature for?
That would be like that one and kind of like the last one too are more or less the full signature that I would be signing a document that's more formalized that like requires my full signature. Like if I was signing my passport, that's the signature that's going to be on there, although there might even be the James in the middle, which I didn't write. You don't have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would be more of that for
Okay.
sure.
Do you always put a period or sometimes put a period?
Sometimes if I'm finished with something, like I signed this document, you were like, sign this, and so I signed a piece of paper and I was like, done. And then I was like, well, that's not the only thing, the only way I sign. And so then I did the one underneath it, which is what I most use when I'm signing like a check or a bill. Something like that would be the M Pappas. I sign a lot of things with that. And
Okay.
then the MP circle, I mean, when I was a manager, I signed everything with that. Like that's just the like when you signed your like slips at the end of the night or when it was like signed off on something, that was everywhere. That's my MP with that.
Okay. So more of an initial.
Yes.
So what's interesting about this first one is because you put a period there, you're basically bringing it to an end, full stop, done.
And
Now, the sometimes less desirable trait here is somebody who is like my way or the highway. It's like basically, we're going to do it my way and boom,
yeah.
that's it.
Hmm.
So if that's a part of your personality that you recognize sometimes, then I would say consciously leave the period off depending upon who you're sharing it with. If you're signing something and it's going to go to a group of people that you want to be affiliated with, leave the period off
Okay.
because unconsciously we're picking it up as it's a confining mark. It's something that we wouldn't ordinarily see there. And people who understand graphology are going to say, this could be a sign of maybe not being forthright, not being forthcoming. It could be a sign, as I said, of somebody who has a pretty dominant personality. Do I even want to collaborate with this person? So it might be a good idea to leave that period off.
Interesting.
On the
Okay.
good, yeah, on the good side, it's just like a boom, done.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Let's
And
go.
then we also see that you have this really big flourished beginning stroke on the M. Again, the rounded hump and the pointed hump. And so that means that there may be times when you either need a lot of time to start something or you procrastinate. It could be that it's like, you take a long time to get started with things. And then once you do, they kind of flow.
That's so true. Yeah.
And again, there's
And
that
I'm
big
a
P.
procrastinator. I can't help it.
It's okay. I mean, hey, people don't know about me, but I can be a procrastinator sometimes too. Depends on the issue. It's all contextual. All right.
Right.
When we sign with our first name and last name, this is more of a conventional way to sign. And if you did have the James, that would even stand more on convention, right? Like if it's your
Right.
passport or something like that.
You have it there if you wanted to see. I did write it.
Okay, very good. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that again, that big J, what I see the most for you is that your capitals are so much bigger than your everyday writing. So this means that it could be at certain times you want to show up bigger than maybe you really feel at the moment or the time. So when someone signs with just an initial and then the last name, this is either for efficiency or you're showing up as your surname, Pappas, right? You don't really need people in this instance to know Michael, to see Michael, because the more of our signature that we make legible and clear is how we want people to actually see us. And so you're just either being efficient or it's like, yep, in this situation, I don't need people to know Michael. I'm just going to show up as my external self.
Mm.
Okay. Interesting that when you worked as a manager, you did this initials with the loop because this is a need for protection. This is a boundary. You literally are putting a boundary around yourself. You
Mm.
don't mind being seen. You don't mind people knowing who you are. To a degree, you're just giving your initials and then you're putting this defense around you. And so when you talk about you're going to be doing your talk on energy hygiene, this is a classic sign of somebody who knows how to boundary themselves. It could be for better or worse.
Yeah.
It
Which
could
is
be
so
I'm
interesting. Yeah.
it's
Especially
good.
thinking back to when I first did this, because I remember just doing MP and, I was a baby manager with keys and I was probably like 22 years old, if that. And, just that like, yeah, then I was like, I felt better with the circle around it. It just felt like I did my job. Here it is. Like I knew that like once I signed it, I was gonna stand by it.
Beautiful.
Because that's kind of
And
what it was. Like I was now financially and like my job was responsible. for whatever I was signing off on. It wasn't just like sign my name. Like it was like I did the books, I did the cash, I did this, like, and that was that.
Yeah. You literally were bringing it full circle. You brought
Hmm.
your role full circle at the end of the day, right? When you were saying you would sign off with it. But it also is a way to say, you can see me, but you're going to stay, I'm going to create a distance from you.
Interesting.
It's not necessarily bad, but for some people, it can be an avoidance, because this is again where we're going to look at all the handwriting to see, am I going to look for avoidant patterns in the handwriting that show me he's going to keep people at arm's length? And we do see with the spacing of your words that you do. You are
Hmm.
somebody who can come forward, and when you go in to be quiet, it's not incongruent, it's calibration. It's like you're coming inward to your quiet space to recalibrate.
That's very true. I have a very strong boundary with my personal time. I will schedule myself personal time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a meeting with myself. Like,
Yeah, I love it. Self, what are we going to do today?
what
Nothing,
are we doing
bitch.
right now? Yeah,
We're just going to chill.
yeah,
All
seriously.
right, great. So finally, this last signature here, what's really striking to me is, if now that you kind of know what looking at this, it has a different nuance and meaning, what stands out to you, Michael, about that last signature?
The L is very separate from the rest of my name, which
Mm-hmm.
is like the M comes from high and then is leaning to the right, and then the S has a hook back.
Yes. And that's a good point, because these hooks that you have here as well, this is a more fluid S. This is the hook, and the whip is all about bringing it back to the self.
Right.
So this is basically, you can have a whip smart intellect. You can have a sharp tongue. Your tongue can become a whip. It can be, I am going to acquire, because it goes to the right and comes back to the left. I am going to gather all this for myself from other people: wisdom, knowledge, resources, connection. So, hooks and whips are not always bad. We're looking at context, but we can see that, especially with that big wavy thing, that big wavy stroke on the left coming in, and then this whip on the right with this particular sample here. This
Hmm.
again is another indication of, it's kind of all coming back to me. I'm going out into the world, but I'm doing so to bring it all back to myself. Not necessarily a bad thing. I know you
Right.
to be a fairly ambitious person. But if we start to see cruelty, aggression, deceit, we start to see signs of narcissism in the handwriting, that would be a flag. So if you're going to be dating somebody and you see their handwriting and you see that, that's a run, baby, run.
Run, baby, run. What I want,
Okay.
I'm very excited to learn what those other negative traits are in the handwriting.
So yes, you're absolutely right about this last signature. That is a barrier, and the letter L is about how we access those ideals and aspirations in our intellect, and how we literally bring it into the day to day. And so we can see that you're very forward with that. It's outward, going to the world and ambitions, but then you bring it back and steady it into the present moment. So you're kind of forward thinking, but you bring it to the present. But it is a barrier. And because of the big disconnect, this could be seen as an unconscious divider between being seen as Michael and your family of origin. There might be times when you wish to be seen separate from your family, when you don't wish to be associated with maybe some of their ideals, beliefs, traditions, whatever it might be. So if you came into my office as a first time client, I'd say, so tell me about your family of origin. Are you close? And
Interesting.
then I would, you see,
Yeah, fascinating.
interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So have you had fun?
I have had fun. That's so fascinating. I can't wait to do the course now, which I was already
Oh,
excited. Now I'm like, wow, like, yeah, it's just amazing. And it's like, I mean, obviously, it's my first moment in like learning about what some of these things mean, so I can't really like control too much about like how I'd want my handwriting to look to the right person, except the period, and the hook and whip. But yeah, that's so cool for
yeah.
sure. It
And
makes
we
me think about
haven't,
the letters that I have that I write that I didn't use here, but like,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, we didn't even get into your capital E's, but if you notice real quick, your capital E's, how that it looks like you start and make an L, and then you either make the top stroke or the middle stroke.
the top and then the middle.
Okay. So what this tells me, the letter E has a lot to do with our tolerance or intolerance of other people, of customs, culture, among other things. That's what it does. It's also in the lowercase, and even sometimes in the uppercase, it's how we're listening. The E is the ear. It's how we are listening. How are we tolerating? So we can see that there can at times be an intolerance for other people. You can push your ideals, your beliefs onto other people at times. And it might not always be in the positive way, because we see that lower stroke as like a little sad face, a little angry face, a little. So what I would suggest, and this is normal, every single one of us has egoic tendencies like this. Depending upon your background, sometimes we are born into a culture that doesn't accept who we innately are, with our own preferences, desires, ideas, personality, or sexuality. And so we will develop these defenses. We can get a little bit defensive. And that's really what I see here, is it's more of a defense. So if you wanted to soften that stroke a little bit, make that lower one perfectly straight. Don't give it that little hook down.
Brown. Well, sometimes if you look at the lowercase L, I mean the uppercase L in the bottom of the second page, that is also how I will do an E. And I'll do that first, and then I'll do the top and the middle stroke.
Yeah. So that looping is just going into the past and bringing it into the present.
But now that I'm like tracing it out with my hand, if I do it like that, where I'm like this, like the Laverne almost from Laverne and Shirley, I will do that, and then the middle, and then the top.
Yeah. If it's capital, that is a carryover from convention. But because you're using it in a very unconventional letter, you literally are grabbing and lassoing the past and bringing it into the present.
Interesting.
Okay. So we didn't even get into the sexy bits like your lowercase y. We're going to leave that for the class and for those who might want to join us. So a couple of things I just want to wrap up, and I want to make sure to go from my notes, because when I do an analysis for somebody, I want to, put it in order. It's the organizer part of me. So overall, if we were to recap this, you are somebody who shows up big, right? And it's confirmed again before we see a single word on your handwriting. That flourish can be a gift, but it can also be an armor or protection. If you're looking at the physical part of me, then maybe you don't have to see the part of me inside that maybe I'm not ready to share, or I don't want to share, or can't share, or that is very vulnerable. We know that you're that quick thinker. You don't need all the data. That T-bar crossing where you place it high and pressured, that is ambition and will. Some of them drift a little down, a little rightward. So that means that your enthusiasm can sometimes outpace your energy, your follow through. You live your structure overall is you don't have really high, except for those capitals in your everyday writing. There's not a lot of overemphasis in the upper and lower zone. So you're really living in the day to day, at least when you wrote this sample. What else do we have? This composed exterior that is really a variable, and it will emerge depending upon how you want it to emerge. You're going to keep it private until you want someone to see it. And what else do we have? That's probably pretty much it. Yeah, I think we went over all the other stuff. So yeah, you're someone who has done the work, and you put the work in day to day as far as keeping your energy and your emotions in check, in balance, I should say. Okay?
That's very validating. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And when people do want an analysis, it's like if I bring up something that may not be, we might be like, what? Me? Like clutching our pearls, like what? It's only it's only because it's very likely if that handwriting style or that letter or that thing is so big, the person might actually feel more comfortable in resolving the issue that drives that behavior with therapy, and then also changing the style of the letter. They're just going to feel more comfortable. So I just want to put that on there.
That's cool.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. This has been fun.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been absolutely wonderful, very enlightening, and I'm so excited for this post-conference course in Vegas.
Awesome. Excellent. And if any of you are interested in handwriting analysis, hypnosis, or anything related to my services, you can go to my website, quantumwaveshypnotherapy.com, or drop me a message in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you found this information helpful, because it just helps to get it out there for other people to see. And until next time, we'll see you on the G-Spot soon.
Bye.